Thank you very much, Kaldor. And guys, we have just seen a very explosive game one. And I was sitting next to Kalaris, actually, and we weren't really sure of the role of Zeratul in this game.
Yeah, just a bit. I think going into the draft, something that I talked about with these two teams was that actually they do quite value Sylvanas quite highly. If I'd have seen a Sylvanas instead of the Zeratul, I think I would have been a bit happier. Our Void Prisms during that game, they caught people, but they didn't quite hit the mark in the end. They weren't able to capitalize off of them. Zeratul, other than a walking Void Prism bot, didn't exist in that game.
I don't think they knew the role of Zeratul either in that game.
No. But Sylvanas would have been great. Wailing Arrow against Illidan, even just to try and deal with that. Of course, there is always Divine Shield there, but I still think Sylvanas could have been much stronger.
I feel they were just trying to supplement some type of melee role in whatever form or fashion. I don't think Zeratul fits that. Again, it goes back to the fact that they banned out Sonya, and then Thrall was a good ban out on the side of negative synergy, basically neutralizing any bit of front line they could have. And then, of course, they went into that Tyrael pick that allowed them to be aggressive without a whole lot of front line to go against.
And they got a lot of value off that sanctification in the middle shrine.
We're confident there were better options, right, though, than Zeratul
for sure.
was last week.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have taken their time a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And now comes my favorite part of the segment when Jayhao and his booming voice actually show you guys the highlights. So do it, man.
We're going to start right here, right away. And this is one of the talks that we just heard Kaldor talk about. Let's go ahead and slow it down just a little bit. Let's highlight up here at the top. We see Tyrael going after Greymane. He's going in hard, but let's pause it real quick. Because right now we have a focus here, and then we have a focus all down in this area. And what we're about to see as Falstad starts to get in position, let's go ahead and start rolling it forward. Falstad actually is going to use his Mighty Gust. He's going to blow it in right here in just a moment. And he's trying to isolate Kael'thas and trying to keep them behind. The problem is, let's go ahead and pause it. These are still active and full of ammo, and they start firing upon it. Let's go ahead and start pushing it forward just a little bit. And that was kind of one of the things. And now all of a sudden, this fight really turns over in favor of Renovatio, and you'll see them start to turn it around, fighting under those cannons, fighting under here. As you can see, highlights where teams start to get blown up, and just over and over. This was one of the big mistakes that Negative Synergy made, but the problem is they were able to come back from it later on. It wasn't a huge blow to them, but it was a bit of a misplay there.
It was actually one of the better Void Prisms there as well that you actually highlighted. The other ones didn't, I mean, yes, they caught people, but they weren't able to capitalize on it, and then Negative Synergy were able to turn around. But that one actually isolated two members of their team, which they were able to then capitalize on and get two people whilst they were isolated. So that, as you mentioned there, was a pretty chaotic situation for Negative.
It's just like, I just look at this fight as like one of maybe the only big misstep from Negative Synergy, I guess, in this game. Other than that, he was pretty clean. I didn't expect a very one-sided first map in particular. I just expected him to win and be convincing enough, and I guess it was the case. By the way, you're way too good at this. I feel like we should lock you in a room and never let you leave, and you analyze every single game that ever happens.
Wait, I know that we're waiting a second to get to the next one. Wait till you see the next one. The next one was the one that I was
go
most
to the
excited.
next one.
Are we ready for the next one? I think this is the one. This is the one where we're back in the studio like, oh my God, this just happened. Let's just pause it right now. Okay, so this is a fun one. They already had a kill, so we see Uther's already dead. He's X'd out. We'll go ahead and clear this up. But more importantly, now this is kind of the action we don't see. But let's pause it real quick. Now, everybody take a look at the mini-map. Right down here in the corner, that's actually a Zeratul and a Tyrael. Let's go ahead and roll it forward. We see Ninja here. He's waiting to Hearth back. Tyrael says, I need to Hearth back, and I know this is way at the bottom right. But Zeratul goes in and gets the kill. And instantly, Illidan says, hey, wait a minute. I see what's going on here. He's going to go directly after Zeratul, and this is where things really started to fall apart. There's action in the bottom, there's action in the top, and just everything is going on all over. They're trying to dive onto the fort, trying to get value out of that. But Renovatio, this is where a mistake was made. And all of a sudden, two members dropped, and the fight continued to rage on. And as you can see, that pretty much sums it up right there with the way that fight went.
That's one thing that you have to value as well, is the fact that Falstad can come back in very quickly after he's based. He can fly back in an instant, and that is actually one of the things that was the biggest important fight moment at the end of that fight.
I mean, they had just got the kills. I thought that was an opportunity for them to capitalize. I understand a lot of times you get those kills, you want to take the fort to get more value out of the Punisher. The problem is that they went a little bit split, a little bit too hard, and ended up paying for it.
Something I wanted to bring up real quick is the build that Kael'thas went for. He went for Burn Flesh and the double Flame Strike later on. Do you think that actually had any impact, or...?
It's a good point that you bring up, because we were making note of that before, and it's something that you don't see too often.
Right.
Burn Flesh at level 7 isn't something as a different iteration that you would see normally from a Kael'thas. And I actually really liked this little bit of a change from Renovatio. You were telling me about it earlier before, is that in the end, you are going up against a very heavy melee composition. If you're going with Burn Flesh, that means that you're going to be increasing your damage for if you hit 2 or over targets with your Flame Strike, it's going to do 8% extra damage to them. You can sync that up, even technically with a Void Prism, but even then, they're all grouped anyway, even without a Void Prism. So it was a cool little iteration. Shame it didn't work out for them properly in the end.
Yeah, maybe in the next highlight, we actually get to see one of those double Flame Strike. Who knows, maybe, but J-Hawk can tell you more about it.
This is actually a little bit more simpler one. This is actually just a really fun one. Let's go ahead and pause it. Right here, we're going to see Falstad land. Now, more importantly, he's trying to Mighty Gust these two members right here to try and get them into position. He realizes that with the team split here, he's able to isolate. But you're going to see a barrel roll down. Yeah. He'll barrel roll, and instantly you're going to see the Mighty Gust force 2 members over, and then everything, over on this way. And then the minute this goes, you'll see a Void Prison capture his own member. But at the same time, we're going to see Rhaegar, he's going to land the Ancestral. That's going to keep it alive. But this is where, as Kalaris was talking about, the Sanctification getting so much value, allowing them to continue the fight, secure the kill. But it was just overall just good shot calling, good plays.
Yeah, the barrel roll is super important because, I mean, even in the situation when the Void Prism goes down, you're not landing an Ancestral heal on this Kael'thas. It's not going to happen after that goes. There's no way. They are going to turn on him and blow him up. Kael'thas knows a lot about fire. And yeah,
I think even if it had landed, actually, I think he'd die just like probably 1 second later.
Yeah, probably.
We've actually seen it a couple of times where even though a target was being Ancestral healed, they still popped it afterwards. So it was basically not a lot of value gained from this heroic ability, right, guys?
I think it's definitely something that we saw over and over again. As Negative Synergy, game number 1, it's very impressive what they were able to pull off. And again, I think the draft helped them out a lot, especially forcing them into that last pick. But overall, they played really well.
There's so much I want to say about this game. It's like, I mean, even when I'm watching it from Renovatio's side of things, it's like.
By the way, we can see the second map here is going to be Sky Temple. We've seen it yesterday as well. That Sky Temple seems to be a map that likes to be chosen as a second choice here, so to speak. What do we expect, or what can we expect in terms of playstyle variating from this map?
If you were going to pick Zeratul, Sky Temple is the map, and you want to talk about being able to land Void Prisons, to be able to have range, to be able to maneuver in those areas. I feel like in Sky Temple, a Void Prison holds so much more value because you're able to isolate more area to work within. And I think that's one of the things, but we'll probably see another Falstad, or at least a Falstad ban, to try and deal with some of that mobility.
Is Tassada finally going to be shown some love here in this series?
Right.
I said it at the beginning of that one. Both of these teams really don't like him that much. Like,
it could have made a lot of sense with Illidan here for Negative Synergy.
But I mean, they still have the position. One thing that does stand out for me on this map for these two teams is both of them are like a Nubarak here. So we could see that come into play later on.
Yeah, Nubarak, of course, brings a little bit of a different play style than Arthas. They are the two reworked heroes. J-Hawk, can you maybe tell us why Nubarak has made such a resurgence lately?
I mean, his level 1 talent definitely helps him quite a bit. I mean,
just a bit.
Just a bit. I mean, from the get-go, he's normally one of the stronger heroes, especially when you're looking at dealing with a lot of the mage damage that's going to be coming out from the backside. Are you surprised, Kalaris, that they're actually not going Greymane first and they're prioritizing Muradin right away?
Not so much. I still believe that they are kind of looking at how MVP drafted yesterday and are adopting some of those ideals. So I think that them going over Muradin, I'm not too bothered by it. But I like that, the prioritization of Falstad on this map, if they go for that.
They once again go for that Muradin first pick, Renovatio that is. Once again, very similar to the way MVP Black approached this draft yesterday. Do you think that Muradin has the same strengths on Sky Temple as he did on the
He has strengths everywhere. You know, what's really surprising, and if we're highlighting MVP Black, one of the things that we looked at, and this is historically for a very long time, is that they used to, and it's changed the last few weeks, but one of the things that they do is that they'll, like in this instance right here, if they are studying MVP Black, they would pick up Rhaegar and or Uther and ban out the other one because of the second ban phase, and that way they have control over the support. So picking up Thrall there, I'm not sure if that's going to come back and bite Negative Synergy. We're about to find out, though.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. The funny thing is that Renovatio yesterday on this map banned Falstad instantly against MVP Black, and then they went Negative Synergy went up against it against X Team and then lost. And both of those teams lost the games before. So the Falstad I think is very important. It adds lots of flexibility to them. But I think you're really on the money there with the support pickups. It's going to be interesting to see what Negative Synergy ends up with in terms of supports.
Absolutely, and also like how it turns out. Like kind of predicted, like, or I guess you narrowed down very well what's happening with Renovatio there. So then what do you think will come up next?
The thing for them is the world is their oyster right now. I mean, think about this right now. You have Thrall Falstead. Now, this is the part where negative synergy, I think, because they'll have the next 2 picks after this ban phase. The fact that Kael'thas and Li Ming are both still on board, I love Li Ming on this map over Kael'thas because, again, I feel like it gives her more room to work with, and there's not necessarily choke points, so you can get angles on that back line to try and hit those arcane orbs, those magic missiles, and I really love Li Ming. I feel like whoever gets the next pick, that's going to be going over to them. Is that what negative synergy wants, though?
I think unless negative synergy wants Greymane, they should ban Greymane here from Renovatio. I think that's probably what Renovatio would end up going later on down the line, so it really depends on what negative synergy wants, but I don't know if they would end up wanting that much.
Interesting.
The thing is, they didn't really have any issues dealing with Renovatio's Greymane in the last game, right? So it could also be that they know how to play against it.
True, maybe.
I think that the Tyrael ban is a little bit confusing. That would be technically a triple warrior front line, even though Sonya kind of fits a little bit of a flex role.
Think of the Mighty Gust interference, though, with Sanctification.
If this isn't an Uther or a Li Ming ban, I understand you don't want to go up against the ETC when you have Rhaegar and you have Sonya and Muradin, who don't really have hard stuns if they're caught in that power slide mosh pit. But I feel like there's always some other hero that you can pick up in the last 2 to try and counteract. I don't know how I feel about this, because they're going to pick up Uther.
I mean, yeah, they could go Uther, and again, as I said before, there is the potential that they go Nubrak here. They liked it in the previous times they've played Sky Temple. So I don't truly believe they would have gotten ETC here for that ban.
So guys, has Tassadar been banned overnight and nobody told us about it? Or
they don't like him, man. They don't like him.
It goes back to what Galera says. They just don't play him.
Yeah, they just don't play him.
How do you not play Tassadar? Like?
That's a good question. We don't know.
It's really cool, though, because on this global stage, we see different metas from all the different regions. And maybe, indeed, the Southeast Asian or the Australian scene just doesn't value them. Whoa, I'm being proven wrong here, guys. Tassadar's still in the game.
School
okay.
Well, no, sir, I guess.
Okay, so if Renovatio doesn't pick up Li Ming and or Kael'thas, I would love Li Ming here. I feel like they're doing themselves a disservice.
And whenever I see a double semi-support lineup like this, pick crowd control.
You know what's better? I like Zeratul here.
Zeratul,
I like Zeratul for Renovatio.
Zeratul Li Ming would be perfect.
It's like...
Yeah, no, yes?
I think so, yeah. I think it would be a great setup, actually.
I mean, you can isolate. I mean, Tyrande, Tassadar, you isolate either of those, what do you do?
The thing is that a lot of people will look at drafts and be like, but Tassadar has vision. He can see Zeratul a lot. But I'm like, yeah, but Tyrande can't do much against Zeratul. She just stands there like a lemon and dies. It's not
like
good.
A lemon?
A lemon.
I don't know. I'm all about my fruit at this event.
Bananas?
Yeah, bananas
Anyways,
too.
Sylvanas there, obviously, you talked about it right away.
They end up proving me the opposite way. I'm like, I like Sylvanas in their previous draft. Now they're going to pick it up. And it is very strong on this map, of course. And then they're going to round things out, probably with the Li Ming. This is a great draft from Renovatio. Great
I agree.
draft.
I feel like yesterday we had a lot of drafts that were like, yeah, you know, like kind of weird. We don't really know what they're doing. You know, it seems like it depends on the team what they prefer. Whereas here, like, everything really makes sense from both teams.
They totally abandoned Li Ming.
But Greymane's good as well. You know, I mentioned before that their prioritization was Sonya, Rhaegar, Greymane, and ETC. And going Greymane here, I mentioned it after the second rotation, and I expected it to be the second ban for negative synergy, but it wasn't.
Okay.
I think they've done themselves a disservice with the ETC
now,
ban.
Greymane loves to blow up heroes.
Yes.
Okay, Tassadar, you're not blowing him up. If Tyrande could easily go sprint at 13 if she wants to get away. And even then, I think between her own heals and the shields from Tassadar, it's going to be very hard to... the potential's there. Greymane, no matter what, it doesn't matter who you are, you could get it. I mean, Greymane could easily dive in, but with this composition, I'm not sure. I'm really surprised Li Ming made it all the way through this draft.
Yeah, I would agree. It definitely could have been there. I think that if negative synergy had gone maybe Uther and then had Li Ming themselves, that would have been cool. But at the same time, I really like Renovatio's draft. I think that they're absolutely on point. I think that the Tyrael ban should have been a Greymane ban from negative synergy.
It was a very quick last pick, by the way, on the Arthas to close things down.
Also, you have to keep in mind that the way negative synergy draft in this for a second draft is entirely different from the first one. So maybe they actually overstepped their boundaries here and went too different, too diverse.
It's been a while since we've seen Tassadar Tyrande.
A little while.
It happens from time to time, but it's not anywhere near as common. And Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with their draft. I just feel like I can't believe Li Ming made it through. That's my only thing, is I can't believe both teams let Li Ming through.
To add substance to your argument, I mean, you're totally right. Tassadar Tyrande used to be a thing constantly.
Yes.
Constantly, constantly, constantly. Now, not so much. You know, it doesn't gain as much favor in this current setting that we're in. Tyranda's not as good anymore because the stun meta isn't as prevalent. And I'm a little bit worried for the sustain overall. I mean, yeah, Thrall can keep himself alive, Arthas can keep himself alive, but I'm slightly worried for Falstad in this draft. We'll see how it goes.
It's always going to be the thing, because if Greymane gets back there and he's able to get one, he's going to get another.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much to do that either as Greymane.
Right. Any final words, Top, before we go to predictions?
I still think there is some pretty good engaging potential, you know, especially if Arthas can land a good Howling Blast.
Right.
Maybe he goes Sintra goes as well, even though I don't particularly think so. There is
Double
Thrall as
support,
well.
maybe. But
Yeah.
why don't you drop your predictions right now?
I'm going to stay all the whole way, man, with negative synergy.
Loyal to the
Don't even
Aussies.
ask me anymore. They're going to make it out of this group, man.
All right.
All right.
Jay, do you agree with that?
It's hard not to. I think negative synergy after game number 1, yeah, for sure.
Out of the group as well.
We'll see.
And Kalaris, what do you think?
I'm going to judge on draft, and I'm going to go Renovatio for this game.
I'm actually going to have to agree with Kalaris here, because I really think that I just don't like when teams over a draft completely throw back their usual plan that just made them win, right? So I think that maybe they felt a little bit too comfortable here. Maybe the first sign of cockiness. Who knows? I don't want to just blame anyone here, but I think that Renovatio is going to make it. But let's actually throw it over to Wolf and Calder, and they're going to talk you through this game number 2.
Thank you very much, Kendrick, and everyone on the panel. Team Wolfdor is on the negative synergy side of things here for this draft for sure. Just looking at them, I think they have by far the better one. But let's go ahead and jump into game number 2 to see if Renovatio can tie things up.
Yeah, I can definitely see the strategy that Negative Synergy is currently trying to run here. We're going to talk about that in a moment. First of all, we have to the left side of the map Renovatio, and they're playing it with the jumpy line on the Sonya. Iskoa is on Greymane, Stronger on Rega, Har is on Muradin, and Weai is on Sylvanas.
And on the other side of things, we have Benjamin on Tassadar, Robodoba on Arthas again. Daspert's this time on Tyrande. Sashin, I'm not entirely sure who's on. I can't see. Okay, it's going to be Ninja King on Falstad, and Sashin will once again be on the melee assassin Thrall. And one thing I want to point out right away is Thrall is taking block at level 1.
It's an incredible popular talent after Blizzard changed it, and we have actually seen a lot of Thrall players use it. Of course, one of the things that also comes into play here is that they decided to go against an Uther pick. They run it with the Tirana, with the Tassadar, they have quite a bit of sustain with it, but they are currently attempting to make sure that they have sustain during these fights, and block is going to be a huge asset for this. Trading tower health against a kill early on here already.
Yeah.
Of course, the idea with Sylvanas is always to burst a few structures down, but they just got to be too greedy.
And they didn't actually get the tower kill either. They almost got it, but they didn't. So that makes it even worse for them. Yeah, they will eventually get it here. But a good reaction by Negative Synergy responding to that.
So a little bit to talk about the lineups that we're having here. It currently looks once again like Negative Synergy is really forcing on those objectives. They have a very sustainable lineup, or a very sustainable warrior with Arthas at the front who can take great position on one of the temples. And it's going to be very difficult for Renovatio to really do any kind of poke damage. They decided to let Li Ming go and went into a Sylvanas and a Greymane instead. Li Ming could have had a lot more poke into the temple, which they now just simply lack. So if they engage, they have to fully commit to it.
They have to go hard, and they only have a solo support, so that makes it a lot tougher, right? This is something I think J-House said on the panel as well, is who's Greymane going to dive in on in this? Everyone really has an escape, or at least a root or a stun, and you're never going to kill Tassadar with that. Who are you going to kill when he dives in? And if it goes wrong, who's going to save you? Ancestral is only going to do so much.
Team coordination is going to be very crucial for Team Synergy. If they keep Tirana and Falstad a little bit far to the back and make sure that they can't get jumped at the front, then it's all good. Especially that Arthas can go for the Howling Blast lockdown. You have a follow-up. You have not only your Thrall, but also the stun on Tirana. So there's a lot of potential for the team to really maintain Shrine control or Temple control. And that's what they're going to do. Here we're seeing it already. They're trying to go for the snipe, and they are going to get Greymane. And this is exactly what we've been talking about.
Yeah, Stronger nearly goes down as well here, and they're trading a shrine for a shrine when it comes to the structures, and this is one thing they can do. They're finally going to get that tower we were talking about earlier, but one thing they can do is split VYY off to get the EXP, but they're now going to go over here and invade the other shrine, try to abuse the fact that one is down. Not going to get a kill, though, this time.
The talents, by the way, also reflect what we've been saying. They are not going for an Empower build on Tyrande. Instead, they are running it on level 1 with the Ranger's Mark, and they're using Protective Shield. It's a little bit more old school. Normally, Tyrande, of course, going more for the cooldown reduction build than anything else. But in this point right now, their thought process is a bit of a different one. They want to be dangerous once that Renovatio starts to engage in these team fights. On the other hand, now at the top lane, a double kill for Renovatio because they were simply outmatched. They didn't see the rotation coming. It turned into a 4 versus 2 very early, and that's the death of Arthas and Tassadar.
Yeah, somewhat sloppy to stick around too long there, but it's not going to be the end of the world as it's 2 kills to 2, and the EXP is almost dead even. Fast rotation of the Mercs here as Ninja was sitting in this lane defending those towers in the bot, so that's going to be one thing they do have going for them. But it doesn't really work out timing-wise for the upcoming bot shrine, something to keep in mind.
The kills at the top lane are showcasing, on the other hand, very clearly how Renovatio has to play this. They have to try and get a couple of isolation kills there. Right now, they can still engage into these battles. And if there's one thing that we're currently seeing negative synergy lacking, then it is good disengage. They need to wait for the level 10s until they can finally make it happen with the Mighty Gust, and to a certain extent also, of course, the Sundering. Even though, like, going for more of a defensible Sundering is never really what you want to drop. You want to try and flank.
You have that flexibility, yeah.
You have the flexibility. It's an option, but it's not really what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Well, in this bot lane, we have a little bit of a skirmish. The big key is that Sonya is getting the extra EXP in mid, and they will defend these giants. So actually give a slight EXP lead here to Renovatio with Jambalaya and getting that extra wave. It's going to back off, though. It looks like they're going to rotate to take these bruisers to keep the opposite lane pressure at the top before that bot shrine comes online. Well, I want to ask you, because I've been thinking about this a little bit since this draft started, is there any argument for Syndragosa here for negative synergy?
I mean, Syndragosa always can give you value.
It's like a disengaged potential, maybe, and like it can actually really turn fights around because we've been seeing Renovatio overextend in a lot of these fights.
I personally like Syndragosa a lot when you play on other maps, when you are having a Punisher or maybe an Immortal like push for you, and then you can use it in the sense that you use Sylvanas to just disable structures. As a disengage tool, I'm not a massive fan of it, so I think as a solo frontliner, Arthas is definitely forced to go into the army of the dead. And when you look at his talents, he's basically already playing a very defensive build. Block on level 1, on level 7 against the Icebound Fortitude. So as much as I would love to see a Syndragosa, I really think that the chances here, and I agree with that, by the way. I think it's not the best choice for the moment, and I think they should definitely go with the army.
Well, already a kill here on Highsco in this next fight, and looks like they're just going to disengage away from this, continuing to control the shrine. They're 5-manning it, though, and this allows VYY to get this top pressure, and he's doing more than the shrine was able to do at the beginning, and maybe more than the shrine will ever do in this situation. All they have to do is defend down here, and they're going to be in decent shape.
I don't really understand what's happening right now, because to be quite honest with you, if you run a false set in your team, what happens at the top lane right now is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's not supposed to happen. They're actually going to go all the way to the keep towers here.
What are they doing? Ninja needs to go back, and he shouldn't have been at the bot lane in the first place. When he sees that Sylvanas push the top, he needs to be there. He needs to take down that hard cap, and then he can fly down. But this is now costing them a fort. This is costing their opponent's level 10. This is a massive misplay.
By the time he leaves, they have their heroics, and now it's a 4v3 because he's gone. They do go ahead and blow up Tyrande, and BYW will escape here, or not. He's not gonna. Not that he's gonna escape, but he's gonna escape death. Like he just deals with this properly. He continues the push, backs off. Huge win for Renovatio, and I mean, I have to theorize. Like if I had to guess, I think his fly must have been off. Like it must have been on cooldown, so he couldn't fly until that moment.
He shouldn't have been there in the first place. When you have that rotation starting, Falset is the one who has to be up at the top. You see the camp pushing in, and you have that Sylvanas there. For Renovatio, it was a very good move, by the way. Like that was exactly what they can do. They are trying to get the extra value out of the push with Sylvanas disabling the structures, but it was a massive misplay on negative synergy side. They were in a very good spot before it. Now they find themselves, even though they got the entire temple at the bot lane, a level behind, and the wall at the keep to the top has been breached. That was really a big blunder, and they need to make up for it now.
Yeah, that they do. And this means that later on, if they get a second or third kill in a team fight, like get ahead that many kills, that keep is basically free. I mean, even at this stage in the game, with how much damage they did earlier on, we're going to see another fight here. The Jumpy Lion, sick dodges there, but does end up getting hit by the Sundering. There's the Ancestral, barely goes off. Beautifully done. That was a close call.
Yeah, it indeed was. I mean, you could already tell that it was about to end.
Look at this, Sylvanas pushing the top lane. There's nobody there.
Sylvanas is once again just like going to the top, and she's saying like, boys, I got this. You don't die in the mid lane, I have the top secured.
They're abusing the fact that Negative Synergy dove so hard there, and there was no reaction.
Look at that. He actually gusted. He was trying to gust to see if she can catch her, and they catch her in the brush now. They are attempting to get the kill in.
I don't know if they will.
He's attempting to jump away. If they dive too hard, well, there's no rotation
one's
coming.
No rotation
They should
here.
get the kill at least, but...
They trade this for an invade on the Giants, so they were able to, with the 2-man coming up to kill her, grab these Giants. Not the best situation, but still a lot of damage done. That top keep is so exposed right now.
It's a bit of an awkward situation to be in, and Negative Synergy, they have nothing, no one else to blame but themselves now. But still, this game isn't over. The 13 talent, of course, is very close for Renovatio. This is a huge advantage for them, but so far they haven't grabbed it yet, and the fight at the bot lane is already starting.
Oh, Harhar jumps in. Already Tyrande is dead, and Sashin is trying to do what he can to escape, but he's being body blocked very nicely here. There's the Howling Blast trying to slow him down, but Sashin is so low, and down he goes at 2 kills already. They're going to use the Force Wall disengage, but it's not going to last forever.
Yeah, they are. This is exactly what we mentioned at the beginning of the game. If you have to run her too far up at the front and she can get jumped, then it's a massive problem. Their team coordination with this composition is absolute key, and currently they are falling apart a little bit. You can really see that they are struggling here, and it opens up a boss. I love the decision on the side of Renovatio. They have the double kill. They know Falset is at the top. They also know that Mighty Gust was just earlier used. It just came back now, so they just simply go for the point. They have a cleanse on Rhaegar. Even if Falset is there, he could cleanse a hero out and make sure that the boss is not stolen away.
And not only that, but they know that the boss is going to secure them this because everyone has to rotate to deal with the boss, so this is easily, it's also in the same lane as the boss, even that this is here. We get it with the boss push, leaving the rest of the members to push this towards the bot. Keep towers. Just excellent decision-making based off the picks, and they might get another one here. There goes the stun. Decent gust away, and Sashin drops the Sundering again for disengage. As you mentioned, very powerful here. Willing Arrow, I think, trying to confirm the kill, but does not go off.
Get wasted in the end. They wasted cooldown on this because they were hoping to secure the kill, and it didn't work out for them. The 13 talent is, on the other hand, not ready for Negative Synergy. There is a potential fight now happening. The boss is not dead yet, but Sylvanas, of course, is once again on the job, and without level 13, it's a tricky decision to really force the fight here. They're starting to see if they can maybe get a kill, but they lose Falset instead.
Yeah, Ninja's already dead here, and this is going to be an easy keep kill. I wonder how they're going to, transition from here. It's too early to go core. They're only at level 15. Just going to disengage. You're not going to try to be greedy and grab a second keep. Looks like they're probably going to split off Soak, deal with the top lane push, and then grab the remainder of the bottom temple.
Yeah, this game really went south fast for Negative Synergy. Their early game was actually quite strong. It looked good, but now they are, of course, just like basically attempting to get kind of even. They have finally even talent, so they can take a fight. But just the fact alone that the keep at the bot lane was destroyed by the bot push was a massive, massive advantage now. But still, the game is not over. If at this point Negative Synergy says like, all right, guys, we have to win a fight, then they can come back. The big problem is really they're fighting against level 16 already. But their only chance to really make this work is you have to take a team fight. You will have to take one on Vanguard talent down. There is no way that they can survive for long enough with temples coming up soon to just equalize talents.
And they're going really hard with these 16s as well, with Executioner and the Earthbind Totem, so they're really looking for big wins in these fights. Already a lockdown onto Harhar, but he has so much sustain here, plus the scaling advantage at 16. Sashin may have gone too deep. There's the Dwarf toss in. The Sundering does not go off here.
Falset is at the bot lane. I think it's a mistake. He's trying to get experience, but it's never gonna happen. You are never going to soak 2 levels before these shrines are up. You need to accept that you are so far behind that the only way that you can make this work is you win a battle with being a talent down.
Yeah, you have to use your heroics, and Falset's heroic might be the most impactful in the entire game. So
on any other map, I would advise caution and say like soak experience, but they can't do that with them losing a keep at the bot lane already. The top and the mid exposed, and we are on Sky Temple as well. So Ninja is now flying in, but Thrall is down. Renovatio is just not making any mistakes to exploit, and if any mistakes are being made, then it's more on the side of Negative Synergy than anything else. They are in a really tough spot.
Ninja is playing like too greedy when it comes to EXP while behind. Okay, we're going to see another fight here. Robodoba going really far in. Jumpy Line absorbing damage, but he's got Nerves of Steel, so it's not going to be a problem. And here comes Harhar.
Yeah, down goes Arthas, the tank is gone, and I mean at this point it's just a disaster. They're jumping in, the damage output is way too much. This is the play that the Renovatio wants to do. They can engage, they can rush in, they have a 3-level lead. The stat advantage alone is gigantic. in addition to that, the extra talent is giving them so much value. This is not even close, Wolf. This
Not
is a
even close,
1-1.
man. This is a one-sided game, a lot different than the last game we just saw. 10 kills to 4 here. They are just diving the core, and that is actually going to be game over here in game 2. Benjamin taking a ton of damage, and that's it. We're going to go to a game number 3.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with how Negative Synergy played the composition. I really liked I like the idea behind the composition, but they never really played to its strength. And then the big misplay when Sylvanas was pushing the top lane with a camp, that just completely destroyed them.
Yeah,
they fell behind so fast, and especially the level 10 that came into play was just way too much to deal with.
Ninja was just not denying Sylvanas' push power, and Sylvanas is only as powerful on this map, I feel, as you let her be. And if you get out-rotated or you use your fly and Sylvanas reacts to that and goes, oh, Valsa just uses fly and he's in the bot lane, I'm going to keep pushing hard because who's coming to deal with me? No one's coming. I got vision of all 5 members and no one's going to rotate up to deal with me. I'm going to go all the way to the keep.
I can just imagine what happened in voice there. We're probably like, guys, there's still bottom. You can still stay there. And probably Sylvanas asking the entire time,
is it safe? Is it okay?
Is somebody
is it
coming?
safe? Yeah.
Are you sure that they're 5 down there? That doesn't make any sense. I like went through the fort already. I'm at the keep, boys. Is there still nobody getting away? And they're like, no, they're still here. They're still trying.
Yeah,
so,
and all Negative Synergy is probably just like, is somebody going to deal with that? You know, it's kind of like...
Guys, can someone please take care of the problem at the top lane?
But, you know, we talked about this game a little bit, but before we go into game number 3, we're going to see what the panel has to say about that, and of course, the draft for game 3. Kendrick, take it away.